Hey, what's going on guys? Mark back in the workshop on Mark's Aquatics. Right, there it is. I've got the rock work just how I want it. I've layered things. We've got a little cave in the background underneath that rack over there, underneath that bladder rack, which I've got a wave maker behind. So I've got it on pulse, so that means it's just pulsing like backwards and forwards. It's just stop, start, stop, start. So it's giving it that look of the motion in the sea, and also the current of the water as well is going to surge through the tank, keeping everything moving. I'll get into the tank in a minute. We'll get some close-ups of what I've put in there and why I've put it in there. So I'm not sure if you can see the scallop there, that rock oyster, sorry, which is a Pacific rock oyster, I've been told, which is very nice to know. Obviously from the Channel Islands originally I am, so we get different stuff. We don't really get the oysters and things there like you do in the UK. Obviously in the muddy and the more estuarine conditions, the better it is for them to thrive. So we've got the beadlet anemones in there. We've got a couple of winkles in there. We've got some little shrimps in there as well. All that lovely coral weed over in the corner there. We've got some gutweed over there, more coral weed, sea lettuce, and we got some Irish moss as well, some of that. Not sure on the streamer weed here. If you guys know what that species is, give me a shout. Hit it up in the comment section below. That'd be nice to see what's going on. Thoroughly enjoyed it down the beach yesterday with the wife. We had a lovely time, and we're going to be going up to I'm not sure if it's St Ives, St David's. I'm not sure which one we're going to go to. We're going to go somewhere for a little mooch around, and we're going to try and find some more stuff. Now I have got one goby in the tank, which is hiding at the moment, which is understandable because it's just been put in there. But that's what we've got. We've got some other. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll take you off the tripod now, and I will put you on to the smaller tripod, and we'll go in and we'll get some close-ups of what we've got in the tank. But as it is so far, really happy with what I've created, the way it's working, the way that everything's moving. Circulation's great. Before we go in, what I was going to say is, when I added these other stones in as well, it went a little bit milky, the water, because of the mud from the estuary was deep in the rocks. I washed off a little bit, but I want to keep a little bit in there because of the bacterial content and everything else, which is going to seed the tank. And so things are going to start to colonize within this tank now, so it's going to end up all live. Everything's going to be more live. The sand, worms, things like that are going to start to grow and to colonize the rocks, the sand, the weed and everything. So the little fish and things are going to have lots of microlife to feed on as well. But like I said, that coloured up the water a bit. Now I set up the power heads to get maximum flow rate all the way around the tank. I've got a current blowing this, two currents blowing this way, one from the chiller and the big filter, the big Oasis filter, and the one from the Fluval 207, both running that way. So they're bouncing off the front, going back. That then power head from at the back of the weed is blowing forwards towards you. So we've got a right mix up. And when that water was cloudy, or when your water's cloudy when you're setting up a tank and you're looking for flow rate, watch the way all the powder in the water floats around, and you'll see that you'll get a really good water current in there, because that's very, very important. You don't want any dead spots in an aquarium where detritus is going to start to accumulate, because that's what happens in your freshwater tanks and everything, guys. Okay, you'll hit a stage where your pumps will be blowing all the food into a certain area, fish won't be able to get to it, and you'll end up with a big clog of food in there. You won't see it. Your nitrates, your ammonia and everything's going to go flying up in the air, and you'll end up with a spike over time, and you'll wonder why. So it's very important that you have a really good flow rate in a system, especially one of these guys. We've got the chiller on there. Mr. Winkle's going up the glass as we're speaking for a little mooch around. Now they're quite funny because they try and get out. That's why I put this lid on, because a lot of them like to come out. I've already had one come out the filter there. He said hello to me this morning. He was sat on the top of the sheet, and so I'm going to have to put another little piece in there to stop them from getting out there as well. Because they're little monkeys. They come out like they do on the beach. As the sea goes down, the tide recedes, as you know, you go to the beach, you see them all over the rocks. They stick there, they go inside themselves, and they wait for the incoming tide to replenish them again. So right, let's go and have a look what we've got in the tank. Right, there you go guys, there is a nice little close-up of Mr. Turbo Snail there, flying straight across the front of the screen there with his little foot rippling away. Now in the background there you can see that lovely coral weed, the lettuce weed, those anemones. They look rather suspect. Oh, he's making the camera all go mad. Look at that. Tell you what, I'm going to wait till he's gone. Shoo, Turbo Snail. Yes, the old Corallina officinalis. That's the stuff that we've got right in front of you there. The good old coral weed. Now it's a stunning weed. It's actually used, I think it's something to do with grafts and something to do with bone. Quote me if I'm wrong on that, but I'm sure something I heard a long time ago, something to do with bones, and they make something out of it when they do bone grafts and different things. It's something they use that along that line of work there. But yes, the weed down the bottom there is doing extremely well already. You can see, I'll just zoom you in on that piece right there. Now you can see along, I'm going to get a pointer, hang on. Yeah, right around that edge there, you'll see this little red marker thing come in there. Right, see that little white lip that's gone around here? Now that was a little bit of dieback which we've had since we've put it in the tank, but as you can see, it's starting to split now, right in there, and it's starting to let that little bit of dead go, so it's going to carry on growing. Same on that top. Where are we there? This is hopeless. Oh, here we are. There you go, that little bit there as well. Now that will actually release that bit of dieback, and that's going to carry on growing, which is great stuff. What else we got? We got that lovely oyster in the background there with the anemone. There's that dog whelk as well, and the Irish mossweed, which is right in front. Now that bit actually came off, so I've actually stuck it into the sand and buried it in, and hopefully it'll still grow where it is there. There you go, there's another angle for you there. Now as you can see now, we've got some mussels near enough in the middle of the frame there. Picked up a couple of little baby ones, which are there and there. Now, as you can see, the little mouths are open, and these guys are absolutely fantastic for siphoning and cleaning out your water, being filter feeders like the oyster. They draw in water, they take in plankton, they take in all different types of nutrients out of the water, siphon it through them, feed on that, and then they push out clear water. If you ever get some dirty water in a jar when you go to the beach, and then you put a handful of mussels in there, within no time at all it'll clear that water in no time, because they pump it through them constantly, taking all that rubbish out of the water and feeding on the little bits that they take out, which is fantastic. So we've got a couple of them in. They've got that streamer weed, a little shrimp there as well, come to say hello. We picked up a few of those little guys when we were down in the rock pools, managed to get them out with my fine net. Absolutely love these little guys, always cleaning, always busy, and they're fantastic to watch. And they should breed in here as well. Obviously with the planktonic stage with the young, it's going to be difficult like Amano shrimps to get any babies, but there might be enough food in there for some of them to survive. But having a filter, I'll have to put a very, very fine filter sponge over the filter inlet, otherwise they're all going to get sucked into the filter. Look at that. There we go, got a little flat periwinkle there, guys. Remember that one we saw on the beach? I decided I was going to bring one of them home. I'm not sure if it was that one or a different one, but as you can see there, he's not actually eating the weed, he's actually cleaning the algae off of the weed. That's what they do. Some species will eat weed, but these little guys like to just graze all over the rocks, taking the algae, keeping the weed nice and clean. Look at that, he's working away there with his little antenna. Let's get in a bit closer on him. Look at that. Now we've got all those mussels as well. Sorry, not mussels, all the barnacles. Yes, now we've got all the barnacles on that rock for the dog whelks, which are still on the sand. They've been moving around throughout the night, but they're not very, very quick movers. They like to just go and find a rock and they'll stay there. Like I said, they do that little the acid trick, where they will go on top of those barnacles. They secrete the acid onto the top, and that basically melts their way in, like they do with limpets. If you look on the beach, sometimes you'll see a limpet shell with a very hole in it, with a little hole in it. You do get keyhole limpets as well, which have a hole in the top, but these other guys, but those guys aren't to be mistaken, because the keyhole limpet actually feeds on sponges. They're actually a carnivorous limpet, where the normal limpets have your normal conical shell. You've got some small ones in here. I'll pick up some other ones when we go on, you know, a couple of more foraging trips. We'll pick up some more. But yeah, these little barnacles are fantastic. They seem to be out in a moment. It's early morning in the workshop here, so the anemones are just starting to open. There's one open a little bit further across there, the little beadlet anemones. They've got lovely little blue in between, the little blue beads in amongst them. And they've moved quite a lot since I put them in there, actually. They'll move to where they're happy in the flow, where they're going to create as much as they, well, sorry, so they can get as much food as where they think it's going to be really good for them to pick up little bits of food. But obviously we're going to be feeding these guys on little bits of shrimp, and I can target feed each one with my tongs. Just go straight in and just plonk a bit in the tentacles, and it'll draw it in, and they'll be quite happy, and they'll stay put then. But they do move around. They can move around quite quickly as well once they get going. Yes guys, as I was saying about the whelks, they'll secrete the acid onto the top of a limpet, and sometimes on the beach, if you look, you'll find limpets with a perfect little hole in them, and that's what's done it. They go in there, like I say, they'll drop that acid on there, and it actually burns a hole through that case of the shell, and then they'll feed on the poor little guy that lives inside. So not much fun for them. But there you go. This is nature. But you can see one of the beadlet anemones there is open. Lovely little red tentacles there poking out. And we got some other small. This is what I wanted to do. You see, I've got very small bits of bladderwrack there, which are starting to grow just on there. You can just see them there. I'll get to the top. There you go. Baby bladderwrack right there. I want to see how that grows, because it's just seeded on there now. So within the coming weeks and months, it's going to be really interesting to see how that forms and really makes see if that makes a real show there. And there's some more further back. If we go up that way, we can see another little couple of bits there with some lettuce weed as well. Temperature in here at the moment is 12.9 degrees. Obviously it's running on a chiller. Summer temperatures in the UK range from around 15 to sort of 20 degrees, the sea temperatures. So I want to try and get this to summer temperatures where I'm going to get the maximum growth from the weed. So I'm slowly raising it up now. I'm going to let it go up until it gets to 15 degrees, 16 degrees, and then I'll chill it again to keep it around there and see how the weed grows. So that's going to be very, very interesting to see how that goes. We've got that lovely bubble rack there, look at that. Or bladder rack. It comes in a wide variety of names. Now if you look on the actual rack there's another little very fine seaweed species on there as well. Polysiphona lanzoa, or lanosa as it's called. It's a lovely little species of weed that grows on there. Little bit of, adds another little splash of colour, different shades and tones. But hopefully we're going to get some more awesome stuff for in here. It's great as well when you get a tank like this, guys, because I'll zoom back out a little bit, because you pick up things and you bring them back and you think, oh yeah, I've got this and I've got that, and then suddenly you'll see something completely different. Oh, now look at that, there's that little goby there, look. Can you see him? Just above that clam, which is an oyster really, Mark. We've got everyone in that shot there. Look, we've got the flat periwinkle there, we've got that dog whelk. There he goes, he's just moving now. Try and get in a little bit closer, but it's a little bit blurry. Let me try and focus down in there a bit better. Here comes Mr. Shrimp to say hello. We picked up about 5 or 6 of these little guys. Some of them are hiding around the back. They're absolutely fabulous little clean-up crew. Here he goes, up the glass. This is opti-white glass as well. If you look through it, guys, you can see that through that. If you look down it's just as clear. Now if you look through normal glass, it looks green. But with this low iron glass, which is the best glass you can get for an aquarium, it's a lot more expensive, but very, very worth getting for the clarity. And that's what I had this one when I built this one a while back now. But it was absolutely stunning with the various things that I've kept in it as well over time. If you look in the background there's another lovely beadlet anemone there which I picked up, which is quite camouflaged, but you can see it's got stunning blues around the base, and the beads just inside the lip you can see as well. Might go a little bit out of focus, guys, but you can see that blue, the blue little beads there. We'll get some of them. I'll get a nice sunny day when we go down the beach next, and we'll see all kinds there, because with the sunlight it'll be a lot better to see. But the periwinkles, they're little flat periwinkles there. Love him doing his work. Fabulous little guys, look at that. They come in a wide variety of colours, blacks and yellows and all different manners of colours. We'll get some more of those guys in there because they look really, really nice. I want to try and make this a really colourful little aquarium by very selectively picking the things that I want to go in there that are going to look stunning and do a good job at the same time. I don't think any of the barnacles are out feeding, but normally they're shrimps that go on their back. They've gone on their back over time in evolution, and if you look, you might see, if you look amongst them, you might see little tiny fans come out, which is basically the shrimp's little legs coming out and straining the water for food particles. They drag it back in then to feed themselves. As you can see, a couple there pumping away. What I might do actually, I might get some of my coral feed and put some of that in and see if we can get these guys going. Right guys, just to keep you in the loop with what I'm doing, obviously, because I want you guys to recreate this, if you can. So I'm trying to give you as much info as I can on these videos, so you can copy what I've done. And this is what I've done throughout the years. Now this is great little ocean nutrition. It's a very, very fine particulate food. Really does smell fishy. All kinds of good stuff in there. You don't need much of this now, okay? You just need a little tiny bit. And what I've got is a large 50ml syringe. Now I'll take some of the tank water out of the main aquarium, and then we try and look through the camera and squirt it all over the bench at the same time. And then I'm just going to use my little piece of acrylic rod there, which I use for pointing out things. That much, that's all I'd use. In fact, that's probably enough. Let's give it a bit more. Don't be frightened to feed a tank, guys, either, okay? Obviously not overfeed, but make sure you get enough food in there, and you can stir it up. Let that soak for, I would say, a couple of minutes. So I'll give it a couple of minutes and I'll get back to you, alright? Right, it's been a couple of minutes. Make sure you always keep the tops nice and tight on that, because you don't want any moisture getting in there. It'll decay and rot and it will stink the house out. So make sure that's really sealed. Now that's been in there for quite some time now. Swirling that around in there. And what I do then is I will tilt that up. Suck all that up into the syringe, like so. Invert the syringe up. Push it down, get rid of that excess air that's in there. So we've got that. So we've got a syringe full of little tiny particulate food particles in there now. So what we'll do is I'll go down. There is the pump, and I'm just going to put that now against there, you see. I'm ever so slowly going to just pump that into the water, and you'll see that getting dispersed around, and hopefully you'll get a little bit of feeding action from the anemones. They might come out once they smell this in the water. The shrimp should start to go crazy. There you go. I know it looks a lot of food, but that will really circulate around in there and keep everybody nice and healthy. Because even the microlife, the worms, the little tiny things, they've all got to feed. And if you're not putting your food in, right, let's go around here now, and we can see what happens. Right, there you go. Shrimps are starting to go a little bit more active, walking around, picking things up. Now you can see the current blowing around everywhere. I can start to see those anemones. Look at that, already those anemones have started to react. Starting to open already, see? They've sensed that in the water. Let's see what these little barnacles are doing. I wonder if I can get my little coral viewer. These are fantastic little bits of kit, these. Give you a little bit extra zoom. See if any of these guys are feeding now. Look at that, that anemone is out already. And his little mate there, I'll leave you watch him and see how quick he actually opens. Once they get in that feeding mode, they're away. Look at that. And that's not speeded up. That's just normal opening time, that is. That's how quickly these things can open and close. Like periwinkles on thin ice. Don't go anywhere near that, because you will eat them. So I'll take them in and eat them. I thought he might have brought that little goby out as well, but he hasn't shown himself yet. And the other anemones this side, look, they've opened up already, and they will catch tiny little particles. Basically what they've got is they've got like a mucous membrane, just like corals, zoanthids, all the other species like that. They've got like a mucous membrane which tiny particulate food sticks to. And you think, well, they're not going to feed on little bits like that, but what they'll do is like I said, they'll secrete that out, food will stick to that, and then they will actually draw that layer of mucus back into the mouth to feed on the very small bits as well. So they'll eat like a lump of prawn, and they'll also take in little tiny bits as well. Hello, mate. He's like, there's so much food in the water, but I can't catch any. But that's looking nicer. All the anemones out. Well, I'm very happy with the way this is turning out so far, guys. Hope you're enjoying it. We've got a little cluster of snail eggs there on some of that rack over there. Not sure what species they are, but if they hatch out in there, it's going to be interesting to see lots and lots of little baby snails whizzing about. Going to get some more mussels in there. Got another foraging trip hopefully within the next few days, so I can get up and take you back on the beach again and we can look for some more stuff. But at the moment everything is looking good. Like I said, some of the weed may die. I'm not sure if the coral weed's going to survive. Who knows? Just don't know what's happening at the moment. It's just all trial and error. Now years and years ago I kept a marine aquarium and I had wrasse in it and all different things. We're going to get a couple of little ones in here as well, but the lighting back then wasn't very good. It was just the old strip lights and under gravel filters, which are still very good filters. You get an under gravel filter with a nice deep bed sand bed on the top of it, and you get an amazing colony of bacteria growing in there, because that's all we had back in the day. There was none of these fancy canister filters and all that kind of stuff. It was just, that's all we had. But we made do with what we had, and with me living on an island, I was surrounded by these rock pools that look just like this, you know, and to replicate this now and to get it going, and I'm 50 now, so, you know, it's been a long time coming, but it's been worth the wait. And to get this little tank going, it just brings back so many childhood memories for me of playing on the beach as a kid, chasing little fish around in the sea and digging up things and exploring in rock pools. And it's just like a bit of home in a workshop. It's absolutely fantastic. And it's one of those things that if something outgrows your tank, you can just take it back, or if you want to get some new stuff and try different species, it's all free. You can go and do it, and in my eyes it looks as good as a reef tank. It really does. Obviously you haven't got the flamboyant fish and all the, you know, those beautiful colours, but you can get snake lock anemones. They're absolutely beautiful, and they glow under ultraviolet light as well, and we'll try and get a couple of those in there. They're going to look quite funky. Different dahlia anemones as well, we'll get a couple of those. Obviously lots and lots of shrimps to keep the place nice and clean, and to feed the animals in there, like the anemones will feed on them as well. I'm not going to put crabs in here like I said earlier, because they are destructive, and they will rip weed apart and they'll pull things off, and they make a right mess. I've probably got some baby ones in amongst these on the rocks in the nooks and crannies. There's bound to be little ones on there, and that's why you've got to be careful when you're picking up. Not so much now, because a lot of the crabs I found on the beach did have eggs, but the babies are, like I say, it's more late spring, summertime when they release all the berries and the water and the warmer months for the babies to start growing up in the shallows. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, really excited about this, guys, and I hope you are as well. And a few of you have been watching, give the old thumbs up if you would. I always appreciate a thumbs up in these videos. It helps the channel out a little bit more, brings a little bit more traffic to it. Share it with your friends, or whoever you want, who think they might be interested in this kind of aquarium, because it's, you basically, once you've bought that chiller, that's the, you know, and your tank, filters, just normal running gear, well, apart from the chiller, which can be a little bit pricey. But then again, when you think about what you're spending on live rock and corals and fish and all this kind of stuff, you end up into the thousands. But once you've got the basic running gear for a marine aquarium like this, everything else is free. You can just go down the beach, you have a lovely outing with the family, take your kids rock pooling, get them involved as well, and have a lovely day. Pack a few sandwiches and a little barbecue, get down there, start mooching through all the rock pools and seeing what you can find. Oh, that's what I was going to mention as well. If you go on eBay and you see sea anemones for sale, what these silly sods are doing, they're selling these. They're getting these off the beach. I'm not sure who's doing it, but it's someone selling them, and they are absolutely bead anemones, and they're selling them on eBay for your reef tank, which is absolutely ridiculous, because they're going to die, and not a very good thing to do. So just be aware of that. If you see something nice and red that you can put in your tank, it's a bead anemone, and it's not a marine coral reef anemone like your maxi anemones and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so just beware of that, because there's lots of crooks out there these days that'll happily part you with your hard-earned money. Right, Mr. Sandgoby's decided to come out. I'll go around this side very carefully. Hopefully he'll stay there and he won't spook. He's right above that anemone that you can see there, and he just literally knocked that little flat periwinkle off there. He's super camouflaged. Look at that. I'm moving slowly. There he is. Look at that. What a beautiful little fish. Absolutely stunning. There he goes. Try and get you a better close up. So that food that we put in the water, you see, that's brought him out mooching for food, and he will take those little tiny bits as well. Where are you off to? What a beautiful little guy. Now some of these gobies can get quite big. He's had a couple of little munches out of his tail there. Someone's had a go at him. Don't go into that anemone. I'm sure he knows a little bit more than me. Look at that camouflage though. It's absolutely amazing. There you go. There's a nice shot for you. So he disappears over the back. Super comical, they really are. So with the blennies, he's off. Yes, basically I think why you knock that periwinkle off, they've got very, very long antennae, and those wiggling antennae I think lured him in, and I think he had a go at trying to bite one of the antennae off, and by doing that he knocked him off the top of the rock there, and he's ended up down there, and he's not coming out. So maybe he did get one of those little tentacles, I'm not sure. We'll have to have a look next time he Next time he pops his little antennas out, see if there's one missing. Anyway guys, what I think I'll do is wrap it up on this one now. There's a nice little shot there. You've got another little tiny baby anemone there, look, underneath that sea lettuce. Not sure what species that is. Looks like a little baby beadlet anemone, but that's what I'm saying. You get things coming in in the tank that you never even realise were in there. So that's the wonder of having these types of tanks, is that you never know what you're going to bring home. And it's always fascinating, always fascinating. Anyway guys, as always, you're all stars. I love you loads. Take care. Join me down the beach for the next one if you would. I'd love to have you aboard. Sub up to the channel if you're new to this series, and I hope you're enjoying it. Like I say, you're all stars. Love you loads. Take care. Stay safe, and I'll see you on the next episode of Marks Aquatics. Bye from me, and bye from Jacques. Bye for now.